Hi everyone, thank you for attending this webinar. Today we're talking to Todd about his artwork in association with the art exhibition we have at the NIE Art Gallery right now, titled Transmutation. Todd, welcome. Thank you for spending time with us in this conversation. So we'll just go right into your life first. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you started this whole art journey as a child, as a teenager, as an adult.
Wow, I think I've never been interested in art until I went to LaSalle. And before that, I was in Ngee Poly doing my engineering program, Triple E. But 3 months in, I found myself in the internet cafe playing games. And I realized this is not for me. So I left school, I went to work for a year. And at that time, quite a few of my friends were going to LaSalle. So I just wanted to be cool. So I went to LaSalle to study. And my parents were not very happy about it, but they were kind of supportive when I majored in ceramics. And they observed that I went to the library on my own accord. You know, they don't need to ask me to study. They're like, why is this guy going to the library now? So they secretly supported me from then until I went to Taiwan in 2014. Yeah, I think finishing LaSalle in 2005, I realized that there were a lot of things I still did not know about ceramics, but yet it's kind of hard to find avenue in Singapore because there's quite limitations to technical know-how or expertise. So after army, I decided to save up some money and travel overseas. And that internet was getting better and information was more available on the net. So I could find places like Tokoname. I could go to Hungary to learn about kiln building and to build a smokeless wood firing kilns. And I can go to Bali, Indonesia. And most of these programs are like 1 month, fully concentrate on specific skill sets. And a lot of times I can interact with other practitioners from other countries. So it kind of like I give myself my own curriculum since 2008 to 2013. Almost every year I try to travel to broaden my experience.
Okay, rewind a bit.
Yeah.
So you went to LaSalle, but how did you get attracted to ceramics?
Oh, it's a very random thing. Because I think the kids nowadays, they get to touch clay in primary school, and there's avenue in secondary school for CCA and stuff like that. But for me, when I was in my school, no such privilege to work on this, and I was more interested in soccer than art. So when I went to LaSalle, just to be cool, just to try to be cool, I didn't know what I want to do. I wanted to do graphic design, but after one of the holidays, one of the breaks, I did a pro bono project for like a soccer team. And I realized, oh man, this is not for me. So when school started, before school start, I went to the admin, the fine art secretary to ask, so which department has very few students? And I remember the secretary, ceramics department. Okay, I sign. Yeah, I just randomly go. But during the foundation year, I realized that there's a possibility that I could make something from my own hands. And I kind of relate to this idea of the homo faber, a human as a maker. Yeah, to create my own path, yeah, in a creative way, in a self-learning method. So I didn't know so much about ceramics, and I just signed and jump into that area. Yeah. Every time, yeah.
And then, obviously, after LaSalle, you went on and did your, master's, and now you're doing your PhD. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey?
Oh, so previously I was talking about my own DIY ceramics curriculum where I travel, save up every year and travel. So in 2013, I managed to be accepted into a master class program where in Korea. So in 2013, Korean Biennale organized a workshop called, what's that? Mentorship. So I was accepted into the 1-month program. And at that time, I kind of heard from Thomas and Hui Min about the professor in Taiwan, Professor Zhang Qingyuan. But it was, while I was in Korea, he was giving a talk about school, his way of teaching. And he was showing slides of the equipments that he had in the school. And I was very attracted to it because it was a fully equipped environment for ceramics to learn. And during the 3 or 4 years that in the master's program, he encourages a lot of exchange by having foreign artists in the program as resident guest artists. And students get to go to various parts of the world for like a long period of time with professionals. So I was very attracted. And in 2014, I went over to the school to visit, but I had already prepared all the application forms, my portfolio, and it's all in my bag. So once I saw the kiln equipment and a brief talk with the professor, I just went to the admin block and signed up straight away. Yeah, and so since 2014 to 18, that was I was in ceramic heaven. Yeah.
Okay, so a question that my students often ask me about practicing artists is how do they make a living? So I mean, all the way from LaSalle, like putting yourself through school, obviously learning about ceramics, how did you manage to work and make a living and continue this study?
I think most of us, we are driven by this passion, and it is a drive whereby we have to make things work. And I think as artists, we don't really need to use. I mean, obviously, it's good to use what we learn and use it to create a certain or become a way of living. But when I started off, I was working in the art transport company, art packaging, and I was working with Erlu Gallery part-time to learn how to set up lightings and paint pedestals. I even had to wait at restaurants. And there were many things that we could do in order to sustain a life of practice. But I think it's quite strange. At the very beginning, there's always this rite of passage where you kind of have to go through very hard times. You have to question yourself about whether is this gonna be sustainable. But for me personally, I wasn't so worried about it when I was younger. Yeah, because making art was quite free. There wasn't much restriction. I was doing performance art for a while. I was interested in drawing. I was interested in other forms other than ceramics. Yeah, but throughout these years of all this accumulation, I think I've come to a point whereby I am very confident that my skill set could sustain my life. Yeah, and I think it takes a long time to get to where I am. I think for the younger students, when they were asking me about this, I felt like it's very good to ask this and very good to be uncertain, but it shouldn't be a factor to stop them from art practice or even to have creative ideas. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So then now maybe we can look at your artwork and your ideas and philosophy behind your art making process. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think it has to do with my background working behind the scenes in various companies or institutions as art packaging, art transportation, and to working behind the scenes in Elu Gallery, in ICA, in SOTA, and all this. I think it's got to do with my background because my family wasn't so well to do, so a lot of times buying materials for making art is tricky. And I have to admit, to a certain extent, when I was in LaSalle, I have to scavenge the dustbins for leftover acrylic paint tubes when me and my friends will visit the dumpster regularly to look for found objects or found materials. So after this experience, I'm always very aware of possible potential materials being left behind by students, by this sort of production of art. And in a certain way, the waste generated from all these events, maybe like let's say biennales or exhibitions or art education, they have not only a very personal meaning to me, but a very special meaning about art making in our contemporary times. What is this whole production, or to a certain extent, it's like a commodified economy of art, which is I'm very interested in. And especially coming back to Singapore for the past 2 weeks, the general theme, especially when I meet artists or when I'm here or when some of my friends catch up with me, the first thing that they talk about is always money. Yeah, and this is very, I find it very unique in Singapore. Whereas in Taiwan or when I was traveling to America or in Europe, the first thing they are curious about is, oh, so what is your idea about? But here I hear this money exchange and this kind of keywords that trigger my practice of using waste material. Yeah. The second thing is that I'm interested in this whole idea of what is found object and what is the whole idea of appropriation, what is originality in this era of making artworks. And I find that maybe when I was in school earlier back then, art history and art theory wasn't so robust. I mean, we have a little bit of abstract information about it, but by taking others' works, I kind of remove myself as an author. Yeah, and it's kind of a little bit participatory, where I include the audience into my works also. Like the students yesterday, they were looking at the artworks and, oh, this is mine, that is mine, oh, that is mine. And then this sort of interaction, I think, is very interesting to me because it's a very localized thing. Like NIE students, they find it very interesting that someone is using their works. But when I was in Shigaraki, Japan, when I first started experimenting with this idea, 2 of them were very aggressive that I was picking up their broken stuff into my own practice. And the suggestive notion behind it was that it is their signature. It is theirs. So I question in the practice of art, what is yours? What is mine? Yeah. all these ideas in this globalized context has intermingled. You know, we weave between each other's ideas. We take from history. So why do these contemporary practitioners still hang on to this thought? Is it because of the art market? Is it because of the commodified art object? Or what is it? And I find it a very good medium when I use this to talk about this issue, because at the end of the day, this works, is it mine? Yeah, and I have to face this issue of money or value again. Yeah, right now.
But that's interesting, that those artists, even though you're picking up their discarded things that they're really throwing away, like for landfills, for the garbage, they're not even recycling it, right? And they found it offensive that you're picking it up and making art out of it. But for students, they're just like, hey, he's using my artwork that I threw away. They're kind of happy to see that, right?
Yeah.
So why do you think that is?
I think it's gonna do, my speculation, that the art students here in NIE perceive themselves, from my conversation with them, they are student first, artist second or third, or not artists. So what they are doing or producing is not good enough, or doesn't have a standing in the art scene or circle. But whereas these artists, they acknowledge that they have a certain standing, and of course, when I was there in Japan, I know that they are pretty famous in their own way. But the thing is, the question is, for the NIE students, they come, they learn, they know that they might fail. They have a certain idea of failure. So these works are not so important or considered not good enough. So therefore, it's into the bin. But for these two artists, and there's also a practice in Asian context whereby when they have what do you call that, failed items or failed works, they will smash it into bits so that people will not copy them or will not reuse them. So what they do in Shigaraki is that they will fling it over the dumpster, because by flinging over, the works will smash into bits. But because they can't see what happened to the works, when I climb in, some of the works actually was cushioned by the other dead or shattered pieces. So when I picked up, I'm also quite provocative. I pick things that maintain a certain image or essence of their works, plus the very shattered, in million pieces, it's from the same pile. So is it still yours or is it still yours? Anyway, I did it for like a experiment with them. And they are pretty aggressive with it.
So then what happened to those pieces?
One of the artists very aggressively told me to throw it away, but will fabricate something for my project. But that's a lie.
Okay.
Yeah. That never happened.
Right.
So, to be polite, I throw it away because they have to see that I follow through the action. But in the middle of the night, I collected it back and brought it back to Taiwan to use.
Okay.
Because I find that there's more meaning if I go through the motion. I mean, of course, it's in a way, am I stealing it or am I vulgarly appropriating the person's work? But the other artist was more concerned about me using other people's work. So this artist was trying to make me contact the artist. So it brings a very interesting question. Should I identify all these works and seek permission? Should I be seeking permission if I go in? It's a whole scavenging culture. So scavengers don't ask anybody. You know, when when the act of throwing away, it doesn't mean your belongings no longer belongs to you. You give up your authority over this item. But in the arts, it's a different thing. You can see that in the music industry, in DJ culture.
Yes.
Yeah, appropriating, using other people's sampling. So, anyway, for two of them, for the other guy who helped me to contact artists, I contact them, and I can see. Okay, these two are the other two artists' works they are European-based artists. So I can see very clearly the Western way of looking at their discard and the Asian way of looking, or the Japanese way.
Oh, what is the Western way?
Europeans, when I contacted them, they said, "Oh, sure, it's free for you to use. Please enjoy using these discards. I'm glad that someone is using this rubbish and turning it into a so-called useful or giving new life to it." And another artist was like, "You don't need to ask me, just use it." Yeah. So I got the answers from the Europeans, but the Japanese person, I mean, I don't need to report to him, but he helped me. Have you asked? Have you get permission? Why is the item still on your table? Yeah, but I just refuse to answer him. I just want to see, purposely provoking, to see how far his anger or his ideology could or where does it take him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, in the Western world, I can think of several examples already of other artists having done that. Like a classic one is Duchamp, putting a mustache on the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Or Rauschenberg erasing the de Kooning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a whole culture or a whole tradition behind, you know, kind of appropriating other artists' work. Yeah.
But on that note, I realized that in the ceramic training, I think they are too concerned with the technical part of things. They are not very well versed in art history or art theory. So I think they have a sort of amnesia or empty space about that. So they can't really work on that, which is a bit scary.
It's interesting that you're kind of prying open that kind of...
Oh yeah, I like to open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Cool. Well, talking about that, I mean, I really do like that piece, and you said that piece got a lot of attention from the students because they saw their own works in the piece.
Yeah.
And when I asked you about perhaps acquiring that piece, immediately you said, let's not talk about money. Let's talk about a future collaboration or, you know. So would you like to talk about that?
Oh, I think, because right now I'm doing my PhD research on my practice, and some of the key points that came out in my own practice is that I'm at the end of the day, I'm producing objects. I'm producing something that some people might find it to have value, and I'm curious what kind of value do the audience or the collectors or the buyers would have in their mind. Because of course, on my own personal sustainability, or money could be the most easiest exchange item with the artwork. So I wanted to put into practice this experiment that I have been thinking. When whoever's interested, we can have a conversation, which I think is more important than just pay now and then I package it and it goes to your place and I don't know what's going to happen to that, and things like that. I'm also trying to still attempt to talk about the idea of collections. What happened to the works when they are under collection, other than money value exchange? Because a lot of it's a very strange thing that I'm trying to avoid this kind of status thing. Yeah. And I feel a little bit guilty to a certain extent because I'm using, like, for example, that work. You know, within a week, I came to NIE. I spoke to you about using materials here, and also detritus from the students or the construction clay that we got. So I cannot say that this is my work because I'm just a medium of, I'm just placing stuff on it. I'm putting sort of an idea out, and how much can this idea be exchanged instead of money? I think an idea to be exchanged with an idea would be more interesting than an idea being exchanged for monetary terms. And I think it's a very, very powerful way for me to talk about in Singapore. For the past 2 weeks I'm here, rental is expensive, material is expensive, firing is expensive. And if I make so many things, rental, keeping the work is expensive. So if we keep having this very circular or this round and round thing, repetitive kind of thinking, so what are we making now in Singapore? Yeah. And also, for me, it's very sad that the ceramics capability, we are so rich here in financially rich, but yet there are certain things which are considered basic in other cultures or country, yet we can't have it here. Like, for example, kilns, material, availability to fail, because this craft itself, though there's repetitive motion, there is always failures. Yeah. And also, is it because our general thinking is we are trying to avoid that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So long story short, I hope to have a sort of positive exchange. It could be anything. And I'm also to be part of my practice where I include people forcefully or like this sort of exchange. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a project by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I found fascinating about your response to me asking you how much would that cost is that what do you think? That was your question for me.
Yeah.
And that made me think, why do we always think about things in terms of money? In terms of value of things are in dollars and cents, but actually there is more value in, for example, a collaborative project. There is more value in an exchange of ideas, but we're so used to talking about things in terms of dollars and cents, and art doesn't escape that either. So thank you for bringing that point up. Yeah, I think that really, we need a mindset shift about what we value more.
Yeah.
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 I think because I flipped through some artist autobiography and stuff like that, there's artists will respond, they'll correspond with letters, with poetry, with paintings. I paint something, send it to you, look at my painting, you send back writing something. And I think this is a very some sort of exchange that I always wanted to have in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Or encourage. Yeah.
Okay, so of course, the other thing that we should really talk about is your piece that we've been, kind of sitting across from. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this work in relation to the whole idea of process-based art, which is what this whole exhibition is about, an emphasis on the process? Tell us a little bit about the work.
I think when you first brought up the idea of this show, I was thinking about, and of course, I think from my practice, you saw that I've been going around firing and building kilns and working with different kilns and stuff like that. So I remember the suggestion, or could we have maybe explore having a kiln within a gallery space? It could be an object, a pedestal, or something like this, and quite open. So at that time, I was thinking, oh, maybe I could build my the kiln of my dreams for Singapore, right here in NIE, and something that could function and be ready for firing. But speaking with Benson and realizing that if it was built in bricks, it might have a very high chance that you end up in as a construction waste. So then I was like, okay, maybe how about we work with because I know he goes around collecting recycled clay from schools or the construction clay, construction detritus. I'll call this. I wouldn't call it local clay because the whole idea is that they take it from this place because they want to build something, and these are considered waste for the companies over there, or even for LTA. Okay, I shouldn't say their name, but yeah, they're building something, so this will be garbage. And for me, this is wonderful material. So I think, for a long time, when I was in school in Singapore or in Taiwan, I did work with this material, and I kind of know its characteristics. But when it came, I find that, it kind of fit this whole idea of process where I have to plan how to use the dry clay and process it, and then prepare into usable material and into an object that I have in my mind. And basically, I don't really have a sketch for this. It's all in my mind. And there were basic ideas that I would like to explore also, because this is the first time I'm trying out building a form like that purely in clay, and especially in a very unfamiliar clay that was excavated from the construction site. And process, I really enjoy this chance, because first and foremost, I think Ling, you gave us freedom to work with the idea, and so it is very rare to be able to have a park meal in a gallery and everything is dusty. I dirty the floors all the way to the toilets and stuff like that. And having students coming in on and off to see how this form slowly take form by itself, and them helping with making coins, and also observing how layer by layer this object is growing. And I also have a few technical visualize, like take for example the grades over here, the primary stocking hole, the chimney, the size. I think it also creates sort of conversation, because this kind of wood kiln is or wood firing in Singapore is not very well, how do you say? The students are not very well versed with it, or there's not a very good expertise in Singapore. So from here we can strike conversations. I think the process, the most important is to have relationship or at different intervals. I don't think they have to be here the whole time. Yeah, they can come in anytime they want. Things can shift, things can move, things can break. Yeah, I think it's very liberating in a sense that I felt that in the 80s or in the 90s or earlier, this sort of things were happening so much.
Yeah.
But when I was started when I was in art school, it was kind of difficult. Yeah, even in performance art, the whole idea of the body, there's certain restriction with that as well. And how do you perform in a space? Even in Singapore, how do you perform on the public? There are a lot of invisible guidelines. Yeah, that you can choose to break, but a lot of times we chose not to. But here, it's kind of raw. I mean, for me, it's kind of raw because I actually do not know whether the clay can sustain the structure. Yeah, and you can see that over time, cracks are being formed, and at very strange areas because the clay has its own characteristics. I could solve it by using commercial clay and other proportion with grog and stuff like that. But should I? There's always a lot of decision making along the way. And I really enjoy the whole idea that it can fail. Yeah, it can be. You don't need to be completed. Yeah, and as you spoke to me quite a few times, we can leave it as it is, or you can finish it. It's up to you. Yeah. And I think the students I think here it's great because NIE students can come in and out. Yeah, and it became an object of conversation. Yeah, and which led to the works, and some hints of process from dry clay to soft clay to this work to the markings on the pedestals. Yeah, I think it's wonderful for me. Wonderful chance and opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah. I never expected this kind of interaction. Everything is gradually accumulative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really would like to thank you and actually all the artists for being so enthusiastic about this whole process-based exhibition. I mean, I think you kind of took it on like that and was like, I'll build a kiln. So,
Yeah.
So I thank you for being such an amazing teacher because the students actually learn more from seeing you work rather than seeing like, a complete kiln already built and then they just fire it, right? Yeah.
I think you raise a very important thing because we are so result driven, and even for a lot of artists or even the potters, there's this tendency not to, or this secretive zone where people outside of this they will not be able to see. Yeah, and I think it's good to be free and open about it.
Yeah. So, last few questions.
Okay.
Because you're so involved in the ceramic art scene internationally, what do you think about the ceramic scene in Singapore?
Okay, I will be very straightforward.
Yes.
I think Singapore ceramic scene is growing, but my main critic is that the number of serious, how should I put it? Am I censoring myself? Okay, it involves a lot of craft elements, meaning you have to knowing the material, being aware of the available resources and possibilities, techniques and stuff like that. It is a very primary base for practitioners who are working with clay. So, and it's really, really very hard to learn in Singapore. First and foremost, the institution's curriculum for me is not robust enough. I mean, of course, the time is too short, and there could not be a further learning of the medium. Equipments are not fully. They are restricted and unable to facilitate further learning as well. So we face all these issues here. But my challenge to a lot of those who are interested is you have to go overseas. You have no choice if you want to do that. Yeah. And not many of them would want to do that because, again, back to the fundamental question, how do I survive? How do I make money? And what do I do with this certificate when I return to Singapore? Even myself, I'll be very worried coming back without all these available resources. But I take it as a challenge. That's why sometimes I come back, I will wood fire, build some small kilns or try some experiments. I think we have a long way to go in Singapore because in a way it's kind of dominated by, I would say, non-professionals, meaning they are part-time ceramic practitioners. And I am very critical towards those who claim to be masters. You know, how do you award yourself? How do you manage to get that title? And does it mean if you travel to Japan for a month or two to learn a certain thing, that means you know how to do it? And I think it's very unhealthy that a lot of Singaporeans in the ceramic scene think that way. It is a very degrading ideology for this medium which is so craft-centered. And these things, ceramic takes time, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I find that certain ideologies need to change. Yeah, the younger ones, maybe that we need to have more resources or to open up more learning programs overseas. And I think that because of certain values that's being molded into a lot of the practitioners here, they see the practice in a very narrow mindset. Yeah. I would suggest to maybe every year, traveling is so cheap now. There's the Ceramics Biennale in Mino, Korean Biennale. There are a lot of programs that they can participate, even if they are not so invested. They can go to Shigaraki as a studio artist. They could visit Taiwan. I'm open to any of them coming, and Tainan, just text me. I'll come and pick them up and show them around. Yeah. Okay. Try not to.
No, this is great. I think I was already thinking, okay, we need to list out all these information and websites, and then put it out there so people know how they can find this information.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yes.
So, as you know, NIE as an institute of higher learning for teachers, teacher training institute. So, do you think what do you think the students or teachers can get out of this process-based exhibition and bring it back to their classroom?
I think it's interesting. For the past 2-3 days, students we were discussing about this, talking about limitations while they were teaching in school, or how can they transfer certain knowledge or direct certain programs more efficiently or more creatively in their classes. So I think for the past few years that I come in and out of NIE or I follow, I feel like NIE visual arts, okay, you all have a lot of guest artist talks and programs where students get to mingle with professionals or people from the art scene, so that to sort of encourage them firstly, and also to give them another view of art practice. And I think more of these programs would benefit the teachers when they broaden their mind, because I kind of understood how curriculum planning works, and sometimes it can be a little bit limiting, but my challenge to the young teachers is how can you use this limit and work within it with all your experiences with the artists to think in a very creative way and kind of suit the planning in a way that the students can benefit from it. And the next thing I felt that as art teachers in schools, I think the main thing is we are not training them to become artists. And I think the education should be in a way that we are creating a space where they can exercise their creative minds or exercise their tactile or tacit kind of learning capabilities. It could be a science project that is related creatively, like some different way to see things. How do we engage the students more? How do we encourage them to talk more? Just like how when you see things being done, naturally the students will be interested like themselves. Like they participate in this process building. They talk to Nelson, they talk to Thomas, they talk to Hui Min, they become curious. How do we make the younger generation curious? I think that's very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much.